Pat Sajak hosted over 8,000 episodes of Wheel of Fortune and earned millions over a career that spanned for decades. But behind the smiling face that America welcomed into their homes, each night was a secret. He missed every single wedding anniversary and was absent for most of his daughter's birthdays. While the country watched him spin the wheel, his family watched him disappear. In 2019, a sudden medical emergency nearly killed him. And as he lay in a hospital bed, staring at the ceiling, he wrote down a list of promises that would end the career he had spent his entire life building. What he wrote that day revealed the cost of fame, and what happened in that operating room changed everything. Pat Sajak, born Patrick Leonard Sajak, came into the world on October 26, 1946, in Chicago, Illinois, at exactly 7:26 a.m. His father, Leonard, was a Polish-American steel hauler making just over $70 a week. His mother, Joyce, wrapped candy part-time. They lived in a cramped third-floor apartment with a broken heater and a cold stove that failed 6 winters in a row. When Leonard died of liver failure in 1962, 15-year-old Pat took on a paper route to help his mother pay the $41 rent. He woke at 4 a.m. to deliver the Chicago Daily News, saving every dime and skipping streetcar fares. He practiced weather forecasts in a cracked mirror found in a Humboldt Park alley. He wasn't the loudest kid at Farragut High School, but he joined Radio Workshop, the Polish Club, and the Hall of Fame committee all to get access to the school's reel-to-reel tape recorder. After graduation, Pat landed a night shift job at the Palmer House Hilton in downtown Chicago. From 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., he delivered wake-up calls and telegrams, once even handing a Western Union wire to Judy Garland at 2:43 a.m., but his favorite part of the job was the quiet hour between 3 and 4 a.m., when he practiced weather updates, using the hotel's grandfather clock to time his delivery. Then came the turning point. On January 7, 1965, WLSM Radio held a contest for aspiring DJs. Pat scribbled a 60-word essay during a night shift and mailed it using a stolen hotel envelope. Out of 27,000 entries, his name was read live on air. He won a guest DJ spot, played the Beatles 8 days a week, and cracked jokes about a fictional pierogi restaurant. The phones rang nonstop. He didn't get hired, union rules blocked it, but he walked away with an audition tape that he would use for years. That fall, Pat enrolled at Columbia College, Chicago. During a radio class, his instructor, Al Parker, stopped him mid-sentence. "You sound like 50,000 watts, he said. Within a week, Pat was working the midnight shift at WEDCM. His first words on air, "Good morning, Insomniac Chicago." Time to hold up the sky. He mispronounced Chopin for times, but still doubled the station's male listenership. He won a scholarship, taught microphone technique to freshmen, and eventually met someone who opened a path to Armed Forces Radio. Drafted in 1968, Pat expected to stay stateside. Instead, he ended up in Vietnam. After 4 rejected transfer requests, a local congressman intervened, and Pat was sent to Saigon. There, he took over the mic once used by Adrian Cronauer, yes, the Good Morning Vietnam guy. The studio had sandbags stacked high, a pistol under the desk, and soldiers tuning in from the front lines. Pat's voice, according to one listener, sounded like Chicago pizza at 0600. For the next 15 months, he opened for 120 shows across 5 transmitters, reaching an audience the size of California. On Christmas Eve 1969, he accidentally cut off Nixon's Christmas message and played Sugar instead, creating what he called his own version of Watergate. Returning home in 1970, Pat was tired and unsure of his future. Then he saw a trade ad offering $115 a week for a radio job in Murray, Kentucky. No place to live, no guarantees, but he took it. Sleeping in the transmitter shack, he learned every aspect of broadcasting, even recording farm reports before dawn. When that station changed formats, Pat packed his things and drove 124 miles to Nashville, delivering 30 to handwritten cover letters. His first audition was a disaster, but his determination paid off. By March 1971, WSMTV hired him. 2 months later, a tornado hit and Pat had to go live. His 38-minute weather segment drew a 67% market share. Soon after, he became the full-time weather anchor, co-hosted talk shows, and cracked jokes that got picked up by Billboard magazine. His sarcastic reverse dedications drew hundreds of calls an hour. Then came the big break. In 1977, a KABC talent scout came to Nashville looking for Dolly Parton but left with tapes of Pat. The station offered him $45,000 a year and moved him to Los Angeles. Viewers loved his quirky charm, but when Merv Griffin wanted him to replace Chuck Woolery on Wheel of Fortune in 1981, NBC president Fred Silverman said no. Griffin shut down the show in protest. 2 months and hundreds of angry affiliates later, Silverman was fired. Pat got the job. At first, the syndication model seemed risky. Only 30 stations picked it up, but by 1986, Wheel was getting 40 million weekly viewers and bringing in over $200 million in today's ad revenue. Pat was hosting 10 shows a day, 3 days in a row, memorizing 300 puzzles a month, and sleeping in his dressing room. By 1987, he was making over $1 million a year. Still, it took decades for awards to catch up. From 1983 to 2024, he was nominated for 23 Daytime Emmys, but only won 3 until he was finally honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2011, alongside his longtime rival, Alex Trebek. In 2019, Guinness certified Pat as the longest-running host of a single TV show, beating Bob Barker's record by just 6 days. When he taped his final episode on June 7, 2024, he had been at the helm for 40 years and 275 days, but it wasn't all smooth. There were viral missteps. A joke about a contestant's reattached toe went too far. A playful wrestling move on a contestant left viewers divided. In 2023, he snapped at a contestant mid-game, and in his final season, some fans said his tone had changed. He scolded a returning player for grabbing the prize envelope, something contestants used to do and more than once seemed short-tempered. Still, his legacy held. He was honored by the National Association of Broadcasters. His star on the Walk of Fame, placed just feet from Bob Barker's, still draws fans who leave cardboard vowels and tribute. Off camera, Pat lived differently. He married Cheryl James in 1979, but their quiet marriage ended 5 years later too. Many episodes, not enough time together. In 1989, he married Leslie Brown in a candlelit ceremony, and they had 2 children, Patrick, now a surgeon, and Maggie, who found her path in media. Maggie now works with Wheel, leading TikTok tour and racking up millions of views, yet their family has stayed fiercely private. No reality shows, no paparazzi scandals. Pat taped almost 200 episodes in just 48 days a year so he could spend most of his time at home in Maryland. Few knew he had another passion, crosswords. Since 2004, he's written puzzles under a fake name, donating his earnings to a journalism scholarship. That love of words brought him back to the stage. In 2025, he's set to star in a mystery play in Hawaii, his first return to acting since 2001, but it was a terrifying moment in 2019 that changed everything. On November 7th, he woke up with excruciating stomach pain. Rushed to George Washington University Hospital, doctors discovered a twisted intestine cutting off blood flow. His body was in crisis. Had it taken even a few more hours, he likely wouldn't have survived. He floated in and out of consciousness, hallucinating, convinced he was dying. What haunted him most wasn't the pain, it was the thought that he'd never watch a sunrise with his grandkids. That brush with death led to a simple decision: no more missed birthdays. No more anniversary absences. He revised his contract, reduced his schedule, and by 2023, announced his retirement. He didn't want to be remembered just as a host. He wanted to be remembered as a husband, a father, and a grandfather, Pat Sajak's life wasn't just about spinning a wheel, it was about knowing when to walk away from it.